3, 2. How you doing, gang? Woody Woodruff here. Welcome to tonight's episode of the Sports Office. Lots to talk about.
What's new?
I'm sorry?
What's new?
There's a lot new.
Oh,
Greg
okay.
Canner, sports producer. James Paxton, sports producer.
Tigers signed Kyle Finnegan.
You know what? That is almost an afterthought after the story that we have to lead off with, and it concerns the University of Michigan. Head coach Sherrone Moore fired with cause from the university for an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. He was 17-8 in 2 years. He's been on the staff since 2018, and there was a statement released by the university today that reads in part, following a university investigation, credible evidence was found that Coach Moore engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. This conduct constitutes a clear violation of university policy, and UM maintains zero tolerance for such behavior. Biff Poggi has been appointed head football coach in the interim capacity, effective immediately. That's all we know officially from the university. There's lots of stories and rumors and innuendo coming out right now, but let's bring in Fox 2 Sports Director Dan Miller on Zoom right now. And Dan, let me just get your reaction to what you're hearing. A big shock because it came down at like 4:45 today, and nobody knew it was coming.
Yeah, I would say it was surprising. I would say, though, the people that I've talked to that are closer to the program than I have heard rumblings about the possibility that something inappropriate had been going on. Not necessarily that it would lead here this quickly or at this point, but obviously whatever the university did in terms of their investigation, and what we don't know at this point is if this is something that they discovered on their own. Was there any sort of complaint filed? But whatever it is, when something like that is investigated and found to be true, and again, we don't know all of the details with this right now. There's all sorts of stuff out there that has not been verified by anybody.
Right.
What we know is they discovered this. They say it's credible. That has led to the firing of Sherrone Moore, and Michigan football, while we thought was in steady hands at this point, albeit you can question the direction of the program and whether they were winning enough for Michigan fans or not. This is something on a whole different level.
Dan, isn't the key word in this whole thing credible? Because obviously it's something that is there and that they can point to and say this.
Yes, no doubt about it, because this is the type of thing. Clearly credible, Woody, also means cause, and cause is they're not paying him. Right. And if Michigan doesn't have proof of that, you're looking at a massive lawsuit. So I am sure Michigan, as a university that is well lawyered and certainly knows how to protect itself and understands the kind of vulnerability you would have if something like this isn't true and you put this out about somebody, I would have to imagine that this is airtight, that there's not a whole lot out there that is going to protect Sherrone Moore in some sort of argument that this is not just. I think this has been vetted fully by the University of Michigan before they put themselves in this position to make this move.
But Dan, as we know, like when you throw a rock into a pond, there's ripples that come out. So what's next? I mean, you have to move fast. The transfer portal opens on January 2nd.
Well, there's a bunch of things here, Woody. Number one, so much of the coaching carousel has already been on the board, right, with all these other coaches that have already found new places, major jobs that have been open and have gone through their searches and hired their coaches. And candidates that Michigan, I think one that comes to mind right away is Matt Campbell, who went to Penn State. I think he would have been very high on Michigan's list. But obviously he is now with the Nittany Lions. And this is still a great job. Let's get past Sherrone Moore for a second. This is a great job with financial backing from the university, which is the first thing any coach is going to look at because they've got to have that to compete at this level. Mm-hmm. And this will be a job that will attract many people. Now, will it be as big a pool as it might have been 2 weeks ago? Probably not, because some of the people that you might be looking at are already spoken for, have either re-upped with their university, which we saw some do, or they have moved on, which we've seen some others do. Look, the name that is out there more than any other is Kalen DeBoer, mm-hmm, because he's a Midwestern guy, right, was at Eastern, was at Indiana, has been a successful head coach, and doesn't necessarily look like a great fit at Alabama. Now, There were rumors that he might be linked to Penn State. They shot those down. He wasn't interested in those. If you look, his buyout for being fired without cause is over $60 million. That being said, if he leaves for another job, my reading of that is it is significantly less, as in less than $10 million if he leaves for another job. That's my reading online, trying to educate myself on what's going on with Kalen DeBoer.
That may make for...
It's possible that if they lose in the first round, or this could transpire before then, you never know.
True.
But if they lose in the first round, let's just go there for a second. Alabama might be saying, this isn't a great fit. We might be looking for a way out.
Mm-hmm.
And that way out might be, we'll let you out of the contract. He lets them out of whatever the buyout is, and he finds himself at Michigan. Now, that's one name that's been out there by pretty much everybody that has taken up this cause so far in this conversation.
Hey, Woody.
Go ahead,
real
Jeff.
quick.
Greg.
I did get an email with odds already for the Michigan next head coach from one of the gambling websites.
Let's take them one by one, Greg.
Well, DeBoer is number one at 4-1.
Okay.
So and then Jesse Minter's 5-1, Joe Brady 6-1, and a whole bunch of
Jesse
names.
Minter, the defensive coordinator right now for the Chargers.
Right, the former DC.
The former DC who has a show cause because of violations that he committed in recruiting at Michigan.
Yes.
That he reportedly knew he was committing. They were not done unwittingly. Does Michigan want to go back into that? Now, listen, Jesse Minter is a really highly regarded coach who might be up for NFL head coach openings at the end of this season. So the question is, does Michigan go back to those violations and say, that's okay, explainable, tolerable?
I don't think they can do that at all, Dan. I think they got to clean house of all that old baggage. They can't bring back somebody who was in there like that, even though I think that he would go the Harbaugh route and try to get an NFL head coaching job.
James would like
he's a really highly regarded young coach.
That is true. Go ahead, James.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt Woody and Dan. The conversation's really good. But before the show started, I told Woody I think the number one name would be Jedd Fisch of Washington. So where's that on your list?
He is 7-1 on this list.
Okay.
Yeah, a former Michigan assistant under Harbaugh, who has been a successful head coach currently at Washington, been to a couple of bowls, was successful at Arizona. I think, again, 49 years old, I think he's the type of guy that would also make sense. And let's big picture this, guys. If you're Michigan, you're also thinking you've got to be quick.
Right.
Because what you don't want is an exodus to the portal of this group of players that you have in place right now, which you feel good about, a lot of them. So that also has to play into it. Not that you want to make a mistake by going too quick. You know, it's the old John Wooden, play fast, don't hurry.
Right.
I think that's what they have to think about, though, is you've got to have somebody that's going to keep these kids, be able to get kids, but what you don't want is some sort of down period. Look, my guess is they've already been in contact with people that they want to take this job. I'd be shocked if that's not the case.
I would agree with that as well. But, and it's not just the head coach; it's also the staff that the guy has to acquire. I mean, there's going to be a lot of upheaval for other staffs if you want to try to take guys off and bring them into yours.
Well, that's the thing. And if you're going the NFL route, you're trying to get a coordinator that
you got to wait.
You might wait a while,
right?
Because you might have a coach maybe that leaves for another school that's not a coordinator but like a position coach. They can probably go now. These coordinators for teams that might make the playoffs, you might be waiting a while for those.
Hey, Tanner, is Joe Brady on that list?
Joe Brady, I was about to say, he is actually third on the list. The Bills' offensive coordinator, 6-1, but he's 36 years old.
Is that the top five?
The top five.
He was the former offensive coordinator at LSU with Joe Burrow when they won the national championship, and a guy who has been rumored in other positions and maybe again on the fast track to being an NFL head coach. To me, the guys that make sense are the guys with Midwestern ties. And again, Kalen DeBoer, who that might be a mutual parting at Alabama. And he might not feel like that's the right job for him. Question is, what does Alabama do? If this was a couple of weeks ago, they might be in a better position to go out and hire somebody that they wanted. Lincoln Riley, who there's been questions about him. Is he on there, Canner?
He's on there 9-1. He's 4, 5, 6, 7th on the list.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that people have wondered whether or not he was happy at USC. But they just, they had a huge recruiting class. And whether or not he would leave that point remains to be seen. And some of these guys, again, we don't know what exactly it would cost to get them out of the current contracts that we're in. I don't think necessarily that Washington wants Jedd Fisch to leave. What we're saying is there might be a case where Alabama says to DeBoer, hey, we tried, wasn't exactly what we wanted. We can move in opposite directions. You got a great job waiting for you right there.
You can get Brian Dable for 10-1.
Yeah, right. We'll forget about Brian Dable. But here's another question. Hey, Dan, does this affect Bryce Underwood at all? Because
everything we just talked about.
Exactly. I mean,
everything we just talked about.
He could be the next guy to exit. I mean, this is
now. I don't
crazy.
know what. I don't know how his NIL deal is structured and what is required of him based on the deal that he signed and how much money he's already gotten versus how much is out there versus how much he would get to go somewhere else because let's face it, this is a money thing for a lot of these players. It'll be about a coach. It'll be about an opportunity, but it's also going to be about money with these guys. That he's clearly one of the highest paid players in college football. Can he get that somewhere else if he wanted to leave? And we have no indication that he would want to leave.
Right.
But I think it does go to the larger conversation of Michigan has to instill some stability into this situation very quickly to make sure that there's not leakage in terms of players.
And you hit it right on the head, Dan. It has to go very quickly because there are things in play that can affect the decisions and who you get as far as someone else in these positions. Dan, I'm going to let you go on that one. Thank you so much for coming in with us tonight and chatting about this big issue here for the Michigan Wolverines.
I gotta love that background, man.
Nearly as entertaining as Armani will be. So I wish you guys the absolute best.
Yeah, we'll check in with Ryan Armani in a minute and hopefully get some of you fans out here. Remember, right here, the QR code down here. Come on into the Zoom rooms. We'll chat about all of this after this short break. Am I correct? Thank you. Welcome back to the Sports Office. We are chatting about Sherrone Moore's firing today from the University of Michigan. And guys, we were talking with Dan Miller before the last break about what this all means, but the Citrus Bowl is still on the horizon for this team against number 13 Texas, and Biff Poggi is now running this thing. What's going through his mind right now?
What players he's going to have, maybe.
Well, that was going to go through his mind anyway, correct? Because there'll probably be some opt-outs during bowl season. There's always that.
Yeah, there's always some movement, but
now it's not about opt-outs. It's about who's going to leave before next year because of this whole regime change.
Right.
And you got to figure that out now. As much as we're joking around about they got to hire someone quick, you got to hire a head coach maybe this week.
Right. I would agree. I would agree with that.
And that's why, like before, as Dan said, and the odds, and everyone's like, well, Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. I don't think you're going to have that option. I think he's got to prepare to play a game against Oklahoma, and you're going to need a head coach before Alabama, Oklahoma. You can't wait 2-3 weeks on this.
I agree. And like I said, he's also going to need a staff. So he's got to put all that together. Speaking of staff, is there anybody in the Zoom room, Tommy? Put him up, will you? Put him up. We see Tom over there. Yeah, how you doing, Tom? But put up Ryan Armani, one of the biggest Michigan slappies that I know. Hello, Ryan. How are you?
I was going to call him a slappy.
How you doing?
We're doing fine. Let me get your reaction on Sherrone Moore getting bounced.
First of all, I've never been a Sherrone Moore guy. I think
they say it now.
What's that?
He said you say it now.
Well, go back and look through my feeds, social media feeds, and all the criticism I've taken over the last year and a half. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry for what's happening off the field. I don't know anything about that. We've all heard the rumors. That's none of my business. He lost his job. I hope he's going to be okay in that respect. My concern was always on the field, and I just didn't think that he was the man that should have been leading the Michigan football program. I just didn't see any improvement at all on the field this year, and I just think the further they got away from Jim Harbaugh's program, the harder time it was going to be. They played 3 games this year, and they were 0-3. They play 4 games next year. What would the record? Everybody was talking about, they're 9-3, they're 9-3. They were 0-3 this year. They played 9 relatively easy games, and next year they play 4 big games. Bryce Underwood, $10-12 million, threw 9 touchdown passes this year. Last year, I think the quarterback was paying Michigan to play, and he threw 9 touchdowns last year. So,
Ryan, let me stop you right there for a minute, Ryan. Do you blame Sherrone Moore for perhaps the lack of improvement in Bryce Underwood this year?
I do, because he was the offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. He was the offensive head coach, and I think that getting a player, an athlete like Bryce Underwood, he needed to fit an offense for Bryce Underwood, not vice versa. And the really great coaches in any sport will take their talent, take the talent that they have on the roster and fit that make an offense that tailors it to the personnel that they have. And I just don't believe he did that.
And he had a running game this year that was
he did have
really good that you would have thought would help a young quarterback kind of get comfortable, because you could always hand the ball off and get 7, 8, 9 yards, a carry.
Ryan, we're also hearing a lot of names that could possibly, be the next guy to run the program. Greg Cantor read off the top 5. One of those names, though, Jesse Minter. What do you think about that? Is it too much baggage from the past to even consider bringing him back?
It's a great question. That's a great point, and I don't know. And again, I don't know if you want to. I love Jesse Minter. He did great things as a coordinator, but to me, it feels a lot like the Sherrone Moore road. Sherrone Moore was a great offensive coordinator, but was he ready to be a head coach? I just don't know about Jesse Minter enough to say that he would be a great leader. I mean, that being said, Mike McDonald, I didn't think he'd be a great head coach. And look what he's doing now in Seattle. So maybe I don't know anything, but I would just like to see somebody with a track record, somebody that's been a head coach, somebody that's not going to learn on the job, somebody that's going to do it. I did not hear your top 5, Canner. Who were the top 5?
This is these are odds that came out from a gambling website. So Kalen DeBoer's the best odds at 4-1.
Alabama.
Jesse Minter is next at 5-1.
DC at the Chargers.
Joe Brady at 6-1.
I'm going to say no.
Jed Fish and
No.
Jeff Brom. Those are the top 5 currently
for
listed.
5.
Well, then who would you pick?
Who would you pick then, Ryan? Because
Okay. I'll say it. Okay?
Okay.
I'll say it.
Here it comes.
The first call, the very first call is to John Gruden. That's the first call.
That's an interesting.
Knock if you're with me.
That's an interesting name that you pulled out there, Ryan. I got to give you credit because I never thought about that name. Who's the second one?
He's 25-1, by the way, John Gruden on the list. 25-1.
The first one is John Gruden.
You're crazy.
Look, I give, and I know this is never going to happen, but I'd give Brian Kelly a call.
I knew someone would say Brian
James
Kelly
said
today.
that earlier.
I knew
He
somebody
did
would
say
say
that.
Brian Kelly today.
He
I'd
did say
kick the
that.
tires on that because look, Bryce Underwood was going to LSU because
Let
of
him roll.
Brian Kelly. And
Let my boy
Brian
cook.
Kelly has had a lot of success in this state for Grand Valley State University. He has had a lot of success at Notre Dame with a lot of strings attached to that roster at Notre Dame. I know it didn't really work out at LSU, but that goes back to fit, right? Brian Kelly was never a fit at LSU. Much like
Can he speak with a Michigan accent, though?
but look, who's the guy at Michigan State? Jonathan Smith? He was never a fit there. He might be a good coach, but it's not a good fit. Like Brian Kelly, not a good fit at LSU. I would absolutely give him a call and kick the tires on it. Why not? You've got nothing to lose by calling him and having a conversation.
That is true. You've got nothing to lose. What do you think about the time frame? I mean, they got to make this move in what? 48, 72 hours? What?
Man, you know what? That's a great question, Woody, to be honest with
I'm
you.
full of those tonight.
I think now you just take your time because the coaching cycle has happened. You missed it. You missed out on the Lane Kiffins of the world. You missed out on the Matt Campbells of the world. You missed out on all these guys. The coaching cycle has happened in college football. Just go get the right guy.
Ryan, thanks a lot for coming in. I really appreciate your insights and your humor in this serious situation. Thank you very much.
Feels like home in there. Feels like home.
Yeah,
I miss you, E.
It does.
I miss you, E. Thanks, buddy.
You know, it feels like home where we're all
Tanner
rooting
Besley,
against you.
baby.
That's what we're doing.
Woody, James, let's go.
Love you, buddy.
Ryan, I appreciate you.
You don't want me to stay, or are you kicking me out?
Hey, yeah, I'm kicking you out because I got to go to a break. There's more of the sports office after this.
Straighten your ass up right now. This is us.
Welcome back to the Sports Office. Lots to talk about today. We've been talking about Sherrone Moore's firing. Dan Miller came in. Ryan Armani came in. Greg Canner's here. James Paxson is here. Let's kind of wrap this up, the show tonight, by moving on to another subject, okay? Pistons off until Friday against the Hawks, but the Red Wings play tonight in Calgary against the Flames, and right now, Red Wings are playing really good points in the last 4, I believe.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you know what though, and that's what's funny because you look at the standings, which is they're just nuts in the East. The Wings were out of a playoff spot 1 week ago, and now they're at the top of their division. And yeah, they may have played a game or two more, but it's like.
But that's what happens with early season
That's why
hockey.
you cannot afford to go on a losing streak. You're going to bury yourself. So
Especially
they're doing
early.
a good job.
Right. Go ahead, James.
Yes, James.
Tonight's another really big game for John Gibson. He came off his first shutout in the 4-0 win to the Vancouver Canucks, and everyone, including me, has been like, do we have a number one goalie? Talbot plays good, he plays bad. Gibson plays good, he plays bad. If John Gibson can have his third straight really good game, because he's had 2 really good games now, does Detroit finally have his goalie? That's the big thing tonight. Can John Gibson put up another great performance against the Flames?
I still think they're a long way from having a 1 and a 1A. So you're correct, though. This will be a good test for Gibson to see if he can continue moving forward, and that's exactly what
That's
this
what we
team is
need.
going to need.
And guess what circled again? We talked about it last week.
What?
Quinn Hughes to the Wings. That trade rumor's been coming up.
It is swirling. It is swirling around. But you know
I heard
what?
he's going to the Caps. I don't know about it.
You know what? You could shelve that right now, Greg Canner, because we don't want to talk about the Washington Capitals. I'd like to say thanks to everybody for being here in the Sports Office. There'll be much more coming up tomorrow as we continue right here on the Fox Local app. I'm
Go
Woody
Caps.
Woodruff. That's Greg. That's James. What do you got to say now?
Nothing. We're out of time.
What are you holding your hands up? You're under arrest. Put your hands up.
Thank you for joining us on another busy night of all things people, power, and politics. This is The Pulse. I'm Charlie Langton. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says he's trying to decide if he'll release video of a follow-up strike on an alleged drug boat that killed 2 survivors. Oakland University political science professor Dave Dulio weighs in on that. Plus, articles of impeachment introduced against Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, speaking of that boat strike, as Congress weighs whether to force the video's release, there's questions about what the political fallout may be. Coleman Young, Jamie Rowe, they will debate that and other political headlines. Plus, the Fed lowers a key interest rate, but there's a high bar to lowering it again. We're going to hear from the Fed Chair Jerome Powell, plus a mortgage expert on what all of this means. All right, let's follow up now on that strike. That's where we will start tonight, because as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth tells congressional leaders, he's still deciding if he'll release full video of that September 2nd attack. Hegseth said that the Pentagon, they're facing new security scrutiny after that September 2nd strike, after reports that the U.S. fired on 2 survivors clinging to the wreckage of that alleged drug smuggling boat. And at this hour, we know that Congress passed a sweeping defense bill to raise troop pay, overhaul weapon purchases, and force the Pentagon to release the unedited video of that attack. And if they don't, well, Hegseth's travel budget will be slashed by a quarter. We spoke with Oakland University political science professor Dave Dulio about what's happening and what could come from it.
This is Congress engaging in its oversight function, which is something that they do all the time, and it's part of their responsibility to check up on different parts of the government, and in this case, the executive branch, making sure that they are enforcing the laws that are on the books and enforcing them in a